Hi, Lolo.
Hi,
I
Jamie.
am so honored and thrilled to have you here for what I feel like is going to be a very special conversation. And as I start us off, I would just love to hear from you who you are, what your work is. Big questions, but whatever feels resonant. Yeah, what your work is and where you are in this world.
Yes. Yes. So my name is Lauren Paz, but my friends call me Lolo.
Mm.
And I believe that experiences like womb loss very much bond us on a deep level. So we are all friends, quick friends here. Gosh, my work in the world, if I could put it into one sentence, would be I feel like I am here in this space and time to help reclaim reverence for perinatal loss, reverence that's been long lost
Mm.
through generations that's finally here to come back online, to come back through the collective. And I think that, divine feminine, the mother, right, is coming through in so many different ways. This is my expression. Having walked through my own perinatal loss experience, both personally and many, many times professionally as a nurse, um, it became astounding the gaps, the cold clinical approaches that were just so hollow and really missing the depth of support that women need in one of the most tender parts and moments of their story. So, yeah, I am here to reclaim that experience from one that's been typically silent, siloed, and stigmatized into one that is truly seen, supported, and soulful. So, that is kind of in the name of what this whole project is called, A Soulful Sorrow. And what does it look like for women to experience this experience in a soulful way in sisterhood?
Well, the listeners know, my community knows, and it's something that we also, I think it's what connected us in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The loss that I went through and the
Yeah.
miscarriage that I had a few months ago. And, the work that you do, we were just saying before we even pressed record on this conversation, it's so important. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy loss is perinatal loss. It's a grief and it's a journey and initiation that is invisible
Mm-hmm.
to most of society and most of the world and to those who
Mm-hmm.
haven't walked that path. And it can be so lonely. I know I have felt so alone in so many ways, even now, as I'm still healing. It's a long journey, healing through, yeah, healing
Mm-hmm.
healing from grief, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so sisterhood, community, finding the soulfulness and the sorrow of it, holding sorrow as something sacred and reverent. It's everything. So thank
Mm-hmm.
you. I just wanted to say as we start off, thank you for
Yes.
this path that you're walking and that I feel like has chosen you as much as you've chosen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But could you tell us, a little bit more about, okay, soulful sorrow,
Mm-hmm.
this phrase, this term, this orbit?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going through my losses in 2017 and 2018 after a long stint of a kind of unique infertility diagnosis. I was born with one kidney. I always knew that growing up, which is kind of unique. And along with that, when women have one kidney, typically a lot of times their uterus or different aspects of their reproductive tract can also be a little different. And so I started having a lot of pain and I recognized, or doctors recognized some abnormalities. And so I was diagnosed with a rare uterine abnormality. And I was told I would never have children at a very early age. So this work, this orbit caught me at a very young age, which I don't think is anything but divine. It was painful, absolutely, the road to get to this place, but what it really helped me live and experience on a deep level was navigating the healthcare system. Um, and for women, what that looks like when in reproductive health, infertility, and then subsequently loss. And I went on to become a nurse, and now I've been a nurse for the last 15 years. I have my master's and board certified in critical care. And so, kind of pairing my personal longevity, like I've had over 24 surgeries since I was a kid to present, pairing that with my professional experience, and then having these deep initiations of these two back-to-back pregnancy losses cracked me open
Mm.
in a way that I was looking around so desperately to try to find any type of texture that seemed like it could hold me, or depth of conversation happening with women that really talked about the deep wounding that I sensed. If you've endured loss, essentially a direct assault on our feminine identity, right? As women, the feminine, the womb, right? We are here to birth and rebirth. And there's so much emphasis on birth and creation, right? But the actual compost of that birth and creation has always been death. And in a culture that's long forgotten the sacredness of death and has cast it out and, you know, carried it away from society and monetized it, so to speak, to take it away from our village life. It's been a very disorienting thing for women to then go through this very, very sensitive and tender experience and then be left alone with little to nothing. Um, and it's just a travesty. I love Brene Brown and her work on shame.
Yeah.
78% of women report that they feel shame after their loss. And Brene Brown says that in order for something to have shame, for us to actually experience shame, for it to grow, we need three things, and it's secrecy, silence, and stigma. And when we look at perinatal loss, we have all three. And so we are just like been putting fuel on this fire, quote unquote, of shame, where women feel like they have to tend to this alone or like hide it or put it out. When, yes, this is an initiatory experience for women that needs to be expressed fully. And what does that look like for us to begin to remember what it is to actually celebrate the full spectrum of life and death? And perinatal loss being such a unique niche
Mhm.
um, expression of that life and death spiral, right? That's happening within our own field, within our own body. It's a lot for us to navigate. And so throughout my own experience navigating the treacheries of the health, experience, but then also seeing the lack of resources out there, I can't take credit for what I do. It is completely divinely
Mm.
inspired and here in service. But yes, I've developed, and Soulful Sorrow is this framework, mind, body, soul, for women to finally be accompanied along this journey, this pathway of healing at their own pace, in their own way, trauma informed, beautiful modalities. I know you're a somatic worker as well. So,
Mm.
like with somatics and yoga and breath and nature and grief rituals. Oh my goodness. When I went through my losses, all I thought about grief was like, you just cry in the corner and then you reemerge from society when you're cleaned up.
Mhm.
Oh, but the way that I've been able to experience and dance and commune with my grief and express it in ways beyond just a Kleenex box
Yeah.
has been some of the most healing parts of my journey. And sharing that with women and what that looks like
Yeah.
is unique to all of us. We each have a unique grief signature, and each loss, each soul that comes here and then subsequently leaves has their own signature as well. So no
Mhm.
two losses or expressions look the same.
Mm.
But I'm just here to really bring conversation and freedom for women to fully express what that is, to hold the full, deep weight and spectrum of this loss. Because
Yeah.
it's vast. It's very, very vast.
You have a way of speaking to this that is just beautifully poetic and just like
Mm.
speaks to the soul. I just wanted
Mm.
to reflect that to you as I'm like, as I'm
Thank
listening, I'm
you.
like, that's like a soothing balm for me, you know?
Mm. Thank you,
Um,
Jake.
and yeah, the vastness of this experience, it's vast within each individual, and it's also vastly unique in how every single one of us goes through loss and like what we
Mm.
need from our
Mhm.
recovery and our healing and that
Mhm.
journey. This might seem little bit like a basic question, but it's coming through.
Mhm.
What would you say are, the most common narratives, belief systems, or stories, or
Mm.
pains, I suppose, that,
Mhm.
you see women who have just navigated loss? What
Mhm.
are most women coming in with? Like,
Mhm.
what are the common narratives?
Mhm. I would say the common thread amongst all types of loss of any gestation is this innate feeling that I did something to cause this,
The
or I
shame.
didn't do something that caused
Hmm.
this. There's a personal responsibility that I feel like a lot of women feel. And I don't want to shame that because that is such a beautiful uh, matrescence signature. And we'll talk about matrescence in a second.
Hmm.
Um, but as a mother, matrescence is essentially the essence of motherhood. It's like this threshold experience, kind of like when we go through puberty, right? Like we're going from one thing and we're transitioning into the next phase. And
Hmm.
that is the expression of what it is to when we become a mother. And so oftentimes people say that even matrescence comes online even when we begin to dream of having a family. So far beyond even seeing, the two pink lines on our pregnancy test and beyond, it just continues to evolve and grow with us. So I just want to bring some validation to women that feel this way. They feel that I did something or I failed to do something,
Yeah.
and this caused our loss. And it's a very natural ex instinct as a mother to protect. And when you feel that you've quote unquote failed, we feel that shame. And so it's normal. It's okay. It's perfectly okay that you feel that. It's actually a beautiful thing that you feel that.
Mm.
But it's important for women to recognize that they just can't stay there.
Yeah.
They just can't allow that shadow to overtake them because okay, let's just talk about the male factors,
Yeah.
okay? Which is not nearly in the conversation enough. But I mean, 50% of DNA comes from dad, right? So there's a lot there that's not necessarily in the conversation. And also the spiritual side of things, right? These
Mm.
souls that are coming to be with us, a lot of times they're here for a time, for a season that none of us can control.
Hmm.
None of us can control how long our children are with us. Even when they're born earthside, we don't have that control. But miscarriage and pregnancy loss has a way of like really initiating us into these realities that are really harsh and difficult
Yeah.
in our modern day to talk about. But it's just it's what it's always been. I don't say that to be cold. I say that just to maybe feel and maybe a little bit lighter in the sense that it's not up to you, mama, like how long your baby is here. They are
Mm.
on a celestial mission. They are here in divine timing. And I can definitely speak for myself and I can speak for many women that I work with that pregnancies come and they are here to awaken us and to initiate and invite us to deeper self awareness and deeper healing.
Hmm.
And that is a deeper part of the conversations that has been missing for so long. Um,
Yeah.
and I tread that path a little, sensitively because I know in the wake of especially early shearing loss, when you are just in that just mourning and grief, you don't want to hear that. That's like somebody saying like everything happens for a reason, you know. I don't
Yeah.
want to sound that way.
Yeah.
Um, but there is something a lot more sacred happening beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say the most common thing is that women feel like they did something to cause this.
Mm.
Um, when
Hmm.
in reality, life and death is something that has always been out of our hands. We're a portal for both, but we don't get to have the power of what stays and what goes.
Yeah. Hearing you speak, it's so validating is not quite the right word, but it never ceases to surprise me. You know, obviously you speak to it in a wise like having in the role of having been a mentor, you know,
Hmm.
to many women who have walked through it,
Hmm.
and who have walked through it. You've walked through it yourself, but it never ceases to amaze me how many commonalities and how many parallel lines, you know, we walk in this journey.
Yeah.
I will share that, like, you know, the recent piece that I have been unraveling in my own just healing journey around this has been number one, as you've spoken to, realizing like the depth and the power of experiencing literally the process of life and death run through your own body,
Hmm.
the mother that holds that.
Hmm.
And like
Hmm.
the mother being the creator of all life, and
Hmm.
how that brings us back into our, you know, rhythmic connection to Mother Earth. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's also where, you know, grief ritual and working with nature is, it's such a powerful balm.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like what you just spoke to is also, you know, this piece around surrender and like trust.
Mm.
And there is this mysterious, magical force that is working through us as all beings. And, you know, our spirit babies on the other side, and our
Mm.
angels and our guides, and all of our support team, all of them, they have a
Yes.
plan for us that we cannot humanly comprehend. And, you know, I will say in my experience,
Mm.
since my loss, I have connected with my spirit baby in an even deeper way. And,
Mm.
you know, the loss has allowed me to restore my trust and my connection with the divine in a in just a deeper way that I would not have been able really, I think, to access without that having happened. And I haven't shared this really. I haven't really spoken about this new dimension of
Mhm.
yeah, of like what's transpired for me, but I've now realized that my spirit baby who came to Earthside for a little bit in my belly, her role in my life now is she's a guide. She's become one of my guides. And I think she was
Mhm.
in some ways always that was always a part of it. And that was always
Mhm.
I can see that now. Like that was always her choice. And that was always what in some ways like what she was
Yeah.
here to do. And so she's guiding me. Our babies
Yeah.
are guiding us from above.
Mhm.
And it's awoken me too to this understanding of the divine feminine, as you already kind of spoke
Mm.
to.
Mm. Yeah.
That is new, that is
Mm.
deeper and newfound.
Mhm. Mhm. That's so beautiful. I get teary when you're speaking to that because how beautiful that you, even at such an early, stage of your process, that you already acknowledge and feel that. It took me,
Thank you.
it took me a good year to years now to really connect with the spirit of my two children that I lost.
Mm,
And I didn't name them for a long time. They were early trimester losses that I didn't feel like I had the quote unquote right to name.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. I worked with a woman who really encouraged me, name
Mm.
them, name them. You should name your children. And I thought about it. And I named my first son Atlas because I felt like he changed the trajectory of my life completely. Like gave me a different map, new way of seeing the world completely. My second loss, I named her Story because I felt like she gave me the courage to share my story, our story. And these two entities, these two beautiful souls together, just conspire and inspire me all the time. And I'm now wow, almost 10 years out from my first loss. I can't believe that. And I
Mm.
feel closer to them than ever. And I think that that
Mm.
is another really beautiful, deep part of my work. It's one of the biggest honors to also bring to the conversation the fact that even though our children are not in our arms, not with us earthside, they are very much with us. And if what Jade and I are talking about right now feels very distant and very far, I'll put on my nerdy science nurse hat for a moment. There is a phenomenon that is scientifically proven called microchimerism. Have you heard of this already?
Share with
Beautiful.
us.
So beautiful. So it's shown, it's scientifically proven that even within the first weeks of pregnancy, each unique child that you weave together in your womb, their specific DNA swims and harbors and homes within your very cells and your brain tissue and your muscles and your heart tissue, right? Like all of these parts of you. So they are actually physically, as you're listening to this, still coursing through your veins, still very much with you. And it's kind of a beautiful illustration, I think, of the spiritual side, right? There is the 3D, there's an actual proven scientific
Mm.
phenomenon that's happening, but as women, we all already knew it, right? Like we feel it, we know it. But if that feels distant, just trust in it. Look into it. It's absolutely stunning. The studies that they've done.
Mm.
And it brings a lot of mothers deep, deep hope and comfort to know that their children are still very much a part of them.
Yeah. I'm like, all I can say is, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a concept that when I first read about, I was like, oh, that
Mm,
speaks to it speaks to this feeling that you have
mm,
as a
mm.
mom that like or a mom who has known loss.
Yeah,
Something in me still holds you.
yeah, absolutely.
And they're creating through me. They're like, it's
Mhm,
like the imprint that you have left has continues to regenerate in me, like cells
yes.
regenerate, and it's so
Mm,
beautiful.
mhm,
I wanted to ask you, so, what we just shared, yeah, it was kind of speaks to the more spiritual integration, you could say, energetic spiritual integration
mhm,
around loss. Do you have advice for the women, yeah, who are going through the imminent stages of loss, who
mhm,
are, yeah, perhaps first going through the process of physical recovery,
mhm,
into the emotional, and how,
mhm,
you see that
mhm,
unravel and spiral into
mhm,
a deeper integration energetically and
mhm,
spiritually.
mhm. Absolutely. Yes, tending to the physical vessel, physical body after loss is something that I am, I will die on this hill. That women who experience loss experience postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
because all
Mm-hmm.
loss is birth.
Yeah.
All loss is birth. And when we give birth, whether it's at 4 weeks or 40 weeks, we still go through and we still need to be tended to as that postpartum woman. And, tend to the fact that our body has gone through so much, our hormones are recalibrating. Um, Mentally, physically, there is so much that cascades and changes. And, unfortunately, in the United States, you're just rushed back to work. There's no formal policies that are in place to protect mothers, and to support them through their postpartum period. We're seeing that happening over in the UK, which is wonderful.
Mm.
And I will be at the front lines of that fight here in the United States. But yeah, what I would say is, as best as you can within the capacity that you have and the means that you have, treat yourself as though you are postpartum, because you are.
Yeah.
So for 6 to 8 weeks, go slow, be nourished, be gentle with yourself in the physical realm. So lots of rest, lots of sleep, and lots of warm liquids, stews, soups, really tending to and caring for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and that's on the physical side of things. On the emotional, mental side of things, again, treat yourself as though you are postpartum, because you are. So be sure that you're being mindful of how you're feeling. There's so many women, less than 20% of women have a follow-up appointment after they miscarry
Mm-hmm.
or have a loss of any type. Whereas, when you have a live birth, you go in and you're bombarded with all of these mental health checklists. How are you feeling? Are you feeling down? Are you feeling this? Are you feeling that? It's like we don't have any of that infrastructure, the standardization of care for loss yet. That's another thing I'm doing. So until we have that standardized across the board,
Mm.
I just encourage women to really maybe even, have, whether it's your partner, whether it's a friend, have someone to walk with you and to check in on you and to be a safe space for you to maybe that could hold a mirror to you in a time that maybe you aren't able to quote unquote see yourself super clearly, because it's very dense, it's very foggy. You feel so many things, and that would be the thing that I would also encourage women to do, is to just, if there was ever a time to bask in compassion,
Mm.
this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So take that for what you need it to be. Just compassion, compassion, compassion. If you feel down and you want to stay in bed, great, compassion, do it.
Yeah.
Um, for any time that the tears come, let them fall. Like, process whatever experience you have. Don't deny it. I think that that's like the biggest travesty of our time when women are going through loss, is that they feel that their grief isn't valid. And that when we do that and we depress, right? We know this from somatics, like when you depress the emotion, it's just going to get stored and pop up in other ways. So move through it, be as loud, as deep, as feral in your grief and your pain as you need to be.
Yeah.
Just be in the full expression of that. Because you, nuances aside, you are a mother who's lost a child.
Yeah.
So have grace and compassion for your body, your mind, your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. When I, yeah, was first going through the loss, it's so interesting, even as someone who does the somatic work and I teach people somatics. Um, there is just, we've spoken to it a few times, like there is just this pressure around timeline, pressure around going back to normal, pressure around it feeling like something invisible. And so, people have moved on. Time is kind of moving on. Everything is moving on without me. So I feel like I have to, in some ways, like normalize to that. And
Yeah.
so even when I was, consciously, I thought I was allowing myself to grieve. I was taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to rest somewhat and
Mm-hmm.
taking the time to like nourish myself. I was making myself soups and teas, just like you said. And still, I felt this, I felt this numbness
Mm-hmm.
where it almost felt like I was dissociated and separate from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I was putting on a mask or like wanting, I just like, there was a part of me that just so badly wanted to be back to normal that, yeah, that it was, that I wasn't allowing myself to fully just like have that radical compassion and like real understanding and perspective that like even if you don't have a baby in your arms, even if your
Mm-hmm.
baby didn't arrive earthside, you are still a mother, and
Mm-hmm.
you are a mother who has lost a child on
Mm-hmm.
so many different planes and levels. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is true. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I just want to emphasize like that statement is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
there can be many people around you, support systems around you who love you and who are caring for you and who are supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a very, I don't know, at least in my experience, it did feel like no one else really truly understood.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it just, when I think about it, I'm at a loss for words sometimes still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm really trying to say here is like really give yourself that grace. Like, just like you said,
Mm-hmm.
reaffirming that, give yourself that grace.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it's a process.
Yes. So two things that I want to speak on
Yeah.
that just sparked as you were talking was number one, the disassociation of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, an identity shift. So if I forget one of those,
Yeah.
reorient me.
Okay.
But the numbness is so normal. I just did a workshop on this where we were talking about how we reconnect with our bodies after loss because in trauma, what happens is, and there's all these protective mechanisms, we all of a sudden have these survival protective layers that come online when we go endure loss and trauma. And when the loss and trauma, like perinatal loss, pregnancy and infant loss, actually happens for most women within their own bodies. So, on a subconscious level, we sometimes aren't even aware of it, but our brain actually disassociates from our body out of a protective mechanism. And I say that not to shame because that is just a natural part of the process. And we actually need to camp out there for a while,
Yeah.
depending on your resources, resourcing, depending on your attunement with your body and how your body holds patterns and emotion. Um, it takes time to be able to safely feel or feel safe enough to then go back and reconnect with our body on a physical plane. There is so much disconnection, distrust that also really anchors in. And it's interesting when we don't tend to those wounds and we just continue on our story, we go back and we try to get pregnant again. We
Mm.
like try to surpass these invitations and thresholds for deeper self-awareness and compassion. We're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I speak from this from a really personal, vulnerable place, I had no tools, Jade. Like in 2017 and 2018, when I had my losses, I found something called Holy Yoga for the first time, and that was my lifeline. And
Mm.
I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that there was this mind body connection and yoking that was happening that really felt supportive to me on my
Mm.
journey. I didn't have language for it though. But what was happening was when you're able to safely yoke your mind, your breath, your body in safe, gentle capacities, little things where you start to regain and allow things to release from the tissues and to hold them and to tend to them and to rock them and lull them in with love, right? Only then can we be healed. But it takes, everyone will arrive at that point in different times. So it could
Yeah.
be a month after, it could be a year after, it could be a decade after, it could be, I speak to women well into their 70s and 80s that have these woundings that they're like, I'm ready to honor this finally. I'm ready to talk about these things. Um, and any depression of emotion causes
Mm.
dis-ease in our body, right? So
Mm.
it's very important that we tend to our body and our womb after loss, but in
Yeah.
very safe
Yeah.
ways.
Hmm.
Um, and then the identity shift.
Yeah.
I expected, and it sounds like you probably did for a bit too, to just expect myself to like go back and be the same Lolo, and
Hmm.
be the same strong friend, and be the same like strong badass nurse at work. Um, and it was really humbling. I fell on my
Yeah.
face. Um, I really did. I mean, I developed PTSD and really
Mm.
bad
Oh.
flashbacks and anxiety, like debilitating anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
Because all of the surgeries that I had gone through, all of a sudden I was getting flashbacks at work. And I work in a hospital, right? And so it was like my miscarriage like triggered all this cascade, this domino effect of years of stored up trauma.
Hmm.
And I had to face it. And for each of us, my story is not your story or maybe a listener's story, but for all of us, we're confronted at some point with the fact that we are not who we once were. I am a changed woman because of this loss. And what does it look like for me to re-meet myself? And it's a journey. I just have to say, like, it's not this, like, yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard. But just to infuse some hope and light into this conversation, and love and light is all infused in all of this, but like it is such a grand adventure to re-meet yourself after such a rich transition and like that magic, that like composted soil where women are just like, "Ugh, I'm rooting into who I've always been and like I'm waking up. That is the I think the greatest honor for me to walk this spectrum with women,
Yeah.
and for them to get a little more free, to get a little more expressed.
Yeah.
Um, and for many, many women, perinatal loss is the threshold for that because, to your point, we get initiated with the mother, right? Like, and the mother is here to reclaim her rightful throne in all of our existence currently. And we feel her and we sense her. And so for us to be open to allow the transmission and that wisdom to move through us,
Mm.
it's deep work. It's not a
Mhm.
cakewalk. But if we say yes to these initiative and initiatory thresholds in healing, who we meet and who we become through it and on the other side, ooh, it's worth it every time.
Yeah. Something that I have been really feeling into, and I've been saying to my husband too, is like there is no going back. Like
No.
there is just no going back. Like there, exactly to your point. It's interesting because, one thing that I've also noticed is your partner, right? If you have one in this journey, they're having a very different experience from you. Just as valid, but different. They
Mhm.
didn't carry baby.
Mhm.
They aren't in your body. So they can empathize and sympathize, but
Mhm.
they're just having a different experience. And
Hmm.
so, a conversation that, Chris and I have been having is like him often saying to me without realizing really what he's saying and how it registers in my body. But he's been saying to me, I just can't wait for us to get back to normal. And love my dear man, love my dear man. But I'm like, no, I need you to understand that like this is a new normal, right? And like the grief, sure, like we will alchemize the grief, and
Hmm.
it changes in texture and it becomes, grief cracks us open to love. I
Yeah.
think this is the biggest thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
this level of loss that we
Mm.
experience within us for something we hold so dear, something we love so much, baby. It cracks us open to like infinite love and like the love that connects us all. um,
Yes.
but where was I going with that? Yeah, just like it is it is an initiation. It is
Hmm.
the point of no return
Hmm.
that I
Yeah.
think a lot of women walk through, and
Yeah.
you know
It's yeah.
recognizing that
Yeah. Yeah.
as
It's
like
a
okay.
paradigm shift. It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely is because and people feel this all the time, like with like traumatic events, when you have a before and an after, and all the listeners know this. If you've
Yeah.
experienced the loss of a dear loved one, there's before their death and there's after, and that's how you start to view your life. And yeah, that's how pregnancy loss is, and that's in your internal landscape. It is this before and after. It's a split.
Yeah.
And so tending to that and helping us transition into what is now meant to change and evolve moving forward takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of yeah, uh, it takes a lot of oomph to do that. And I feel like we need women to do that with.
Yeah.
We need conversation. That's why like sisterhood is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
It's so important for sisters and women to walk through these things together, to have these conversations like we're having right now. Like, yes,
Yeah.
more of this, right? Um, yeah. So I was talking before we hit play, I was talking about I'm writing a book all about this.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is meant to be a literal guide so that women can sit in circle with this book. This is what I'm envisioning, that women can then start to sit in circle and have their own support circle and have these conversations um, fostered through this medium of a book. So it's doing its work within yourself, as you're reading and as you're going through these different, somatic practices and invitations, but then collectively you're gathering with sisters and you're having that
Mm.
reflection and conversation time as well. So
Beautiful.
um, yeah, it's funny. I went to write a book. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just like write a book. It's gonna be great. And then I had this choice point, which was really funny, where God was like, okay, yeah, you can write a book. You could write a book about you and your experience and what you learned, or you can buckle up and commune with your ancestors and women of all ages, of all different backgrounds, and really sit with the collective pulse of what's needed to really do this thing and shift the cultural conversation
Mm-hmm.
forever of what's happening and what women truly need to move through perinatal loss in a soulful way. And
Mm.
so
Mm.
that's what I agreed to, and it's been
Mm.
a wild ride ever since. Um,
Oh my God.
so much is coming online.
Yeah.
It's funny, I love Instagram. Instagram was like a diary to me. And I love the community that I'm building and that we have at A Soulful Sorrow. But it's really sweet when I look at the expression of how this has come through. And speaking to me today is not how I spoke, 2 years ago. And I think for any woman
Mm.
who's walking this path of healing, just know that if anything in this conversation has felt distant for you, it's a lifelong journey that you are invited. along, but you do not stand alone. You do not walk this path alone. There are women all over the world who are holding these things without language yet. The language is coming, it's coming through as you're hearing this now. We are all coming alive into what we need, and we're creating it collectively together. And that's what I love so, so much. And such an honor to speak to you, Jade, today of and the way that we connected, by the way, was I read one of your Substack posts on Instagram, and it struck me.
Oh.
And I was like, that is a woman who's been initiated. She knows.
Oh.
And just you speaking your truth to the volume and the authenticity that you did, um, that's also creating waves and changing this experience for all of us collectively. So I think on behalf of all of your listeners, thank you. Thank you.
Need a moment. Yeah, thank you for seeing that and
Mm,
witnessing me in that. And I, I my gosh, I am just so grateful to have had this conversation with you. So, even like having this conversation, I'm just thinking about it right now. It's like we wouldn't have come here had we
mm,
not both have gone through our own initiations and our own experiences of deep
mhm,
loss and deep pain.
mhm,
And the work you are doing now, like because I am navigating it, have gone through it, like I understand like the absolute pivotal, like just divine importance of it.
mm,
What was I gonna say? Like when we go through a loss, like pregnancy loss or any kind of, loss in our lives, just deep, deep grief, we have, you spoke to this, like a choice point in how
mhm,
we choose to relate to it and how we choose to meet ourselves in it.
mhm,
And I believe that there is always a divine higher choice point that we are
mhm.
meant, that we are called to step into.
Yeah.
And so, the work that you do and writing this book, and I know I want to ask you about the groups and the workshops that you hold space for as well. As we close this conversation, I want everyone to just have a taste of it and know what's coming.
Mm,
That is, yeah, just like all of that wouldn't exist
mm,
without,
mhm.
yeah, without the higher guidance that's been walking us through. And so,
Absolutely. And to
thank you
pull
for
this
alchemizing
thread,
it.
yeah. And to pull that thread and to really even weave it into like the space and time that we collectively find ourselves in as humans, navigating this really weird
Yeah.
dystopic world right now. The way through, the way forward, I'm convinced, is holding reverence again for death and grief and
Yeah.
rebirth.
Yeah.
Because we are collectively sensing and feeling that this old world, this old way of
Yeah.
being is dying. It's not working.
Yeah.
And how do we hospice and hold space for these dying systems, these dying things even within our own selves? And I have had this saying, it's more of a chant that I continuously say as I pioneer this frontier, but just as I live my day to day in this like weird 3D world that we're in. And it is compassion as my armor, love in my heart. And I truly believe that there is nothing that with the armor of compassion that we cannot
Mm.
collectively and individually alchemize.
Yeah.
Um, and that is the mission that I feel like we're all here to remember. And grief is the way through. And just like you said, that choice point, like grief absolutely hollows us out. And it's our choice what we fill into
Yes.
that. well? Is it more love and compassion and healing? Or is it more shame and isolation? And we just are going to continue to loop and loop and loop. Well, we all know how that story ends. We're seeing it play out in our world. We already know our habits and our woundedness and our stories, and we're all at a collective choice point.
Yeah.
Um, so it's all the more poignant right now. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like I said, it's just this is my note to give to this greater symphony
Yeah.
of remembrance that I feel like women and men too are waking up to collectively sing and 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 lullaby and remember our true essence, our true being. And so
Mm-hmm.
honoring grief and loss is the way forward in all of the ways.
Beautiful. And that's what takes us to creation, co-creation,
Yeah.
artistry, beauty in the world. More of that.
Yes.
Harmony in the world
Yes.
as well.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Um, okay, as we close off, I would love to hear, yeah, so on top of the book,
Hmm.
what are you working on right now? What are the spaces that,
Mm,
those listeners who feel called to your energy and feel called to be in your
mm,
orbit, how can they
yeah.
find you and what can they find you in creation of?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, to really be in the fold and to be held would be the heart and soul of what I do is found within our community called the collective. And it is
Mm,
a kind of all in one experience. So we have our mind, body, soul signature course that really is that guided pathway that you get to enter into and really go at your own pace. So it's an app you can, have on your phone 24/7. There's um, really beautiful, guided audios and journal prompts and yoga flows and all these different
mm,
things. So that way you can kind of figure out your way and you need that sometimes. You need to just pop your headphones in and be in
yep.
your own world and tend to your inner world. And then also within the app, there's chats and global community, and we
Mm,
do at least one monthly support circle where I'm doing somatics and we're talking about deeper themes, um, and connecting heart to heart. There's workshops, there's guides, there's how do I get through the holidays, there's how do I get through somebody's baby shower. There's so many different real
mm,
life resources that live within there. So that's a lifetime membership that people can join because I recognize that things ebb and flow, and it's a wound that stays with us forever that you may want to tend to in 5 years on an anniversary. So
yeah.
it exists there. On a deeper level, I hold space for one-on-one clients and really working through, yeah, everything I've talked about on a really intentional, deep level.
Mm,
And then from time to time, I host small cohorts, which is one of my favorite ways to work with women, where, I have a theme that's alive for me. And I'm like, ooh, yes, okay, we're holding this space for 4 weeks, for 6 weeks. And these women get to really dive in heart to heart for those, few sessions. So those are all the ways to connect
mm.
over on our website, our Instagram. Yeah.
All of that is in the show notes.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, Lolo, my heart feels both tender and full at the same time.
Mhm.
This has been, yeah, healing for me as much as I know it's going to be healing for everyone, has been healing for everyone who's listened to this conversation. And yeah, I just highly, highly recommend, suggest if you're walking this path right now, please don't ever feel like you have to walk it alone. And
Mhm.
please, reach out, find that connection, land into Lolo's community, if that resonates, and find your collective, find your community, find your village.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's we don't walk this alone. We're not meant to walk this road of motherhood, of life, of it all, grief alone. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your poetry. I feel like your work is like poetry. It just, that's the word that keeps coming to mind. Thank you for bringing your poetry and your wisdom
Mhm.
to
Mm.
us.
Thank you for creating the space.
And to all our listeners, I'll see you in the next episode.